She ruined a lot of my relationships by convincing me my friends were on drugs or talking behind my back or bad people. R/R credit by online comps. My mom took me from my dad when I was 4, telling me that he molested me and might try to kidnap me. I was terrified of him my whole life. I found out she lied to me when I was 37. When I was 4, my mom took me from my biological dad. She told me that he molested me. She said I told her what he did, but I have no memory of that. She warned me that he and his friends might try to kidnap me from preschool or elementary school, or plant spies to watch me. As I grew older, the stories about him grew more graphic and specific. My mom died when I was 27. 10 years later I found some evidence that my mom may have lied, or may have been crazy, or both. I started asking questions and came to the conclusion that my dad was most likely a good guy. Emailing him and then finally meeting him was the hardest and scariest thing I've ever had to do. Good news, I have an awesome dad. Bad news, I had to learn my mom was a sociopath and a liar, and that my childhood was a lie. What other sociopathic things did your mom do? A lot of it, I didn't realize, was sociopathic at the time. I was a kid, and I didn't know what was normal. She shared way too much information with me from a young age. Often graphic information used to scare me. Rape, murder, etc. She shared all the details of her dating life. She made sure I knew that if I crossed her in any way, she'd come back at me 10 times harder. She constantly accused me of lying and punished me for it. She ruined a lot of my relationships by convincing me my friends were on drugs or talking behind my back or bad people. She accused me of being a lesbian and wouldn't allow my best friend to spend the night anymore. All of it was about control, and it worked. I was completely under her thumb and didn't know it. My manic depressive ex stole my kids and has been doing similar one. I've been trying to be in their lives for almost 4 years, but she makes lie after lie to keep them from me. I feel your dad's pain. I'm really sorry that happened. Keep reaching out to them. Letters, gifts, whatever. Keep records. Photocopies of the letters, receipts for the gifts, a diary of what you're going through. All of that helped me understand my dad's side of the story and really believe him when I finally reached out to him. Don't give up. Your kids will grow up and the truth will come out. Do you resent your mom for taking away childhood time with your dad? How did your dad react when you reached out to him? Do you prefer thin crust or deep dish pizza? Of course I resent my mom very much. Not only for taking away time and a relationship with my dad, but also because she wasn't a great mom and I could have had a much different life. I loved her and still do, but in many ways she was abusive, and it's hard to look back on my childhood realizing I could have lived in a healthy environment. My dad had always hoped that I would reach out to him. It was weird. I didn't have contact information for him, but I was able to get contact info for his wife, and when I emailed her, my intro was I don't know if you've heard about me. She later told me that she'd been hearing about me for 33 years. Keeping a diary of all the presents they'd bought and sent, which my mom threw away, and all their therapy sessions in which my dad discussed whether or not to seek legal recourse to see me, etc. At first, he was skeptical because he didn't know anything about me. Was I contacting him because I wanted money? A kidney? But then it became obvious I was looking for the truth because I wasn't nice at all, just asking really hard questions. Definitely thin crust. I have a half sister out there who I'm hoping will one day reach out to me. Do you resent your dad for staying away? Does the fact that he tried to make contact help? Do you forgive him? I had to keep my distance from her mother, but I will always be there should my sister want to find me. Is there any advice or hope for someone in my situation? I can't really resent my dad for staying away when I stayed away too. There's no way he could have known what my life was like, and he thought he was doing the right thing. He faithfully sent child support and gifts. When I met him and saw all his records of trying to contact me, the gifts he and his wife bought, and OMG met their friends who'd been hearing about me for years, it was obvious he had loved me all along and been waiting to hear from me. I don't feel like there's anything to forgive. Definitely keep reaching out to your sister if you can, and keep a diary or records of the times you try to reach her. Maybe pictures of her, or anything you can show her to prove you've been thinking about her, and she's remained a priority for you during the times you were apart. It made a huge difference for me. I really hope you and your sister can have a relationship again. My ex took my son away. He is 6. I write him every day. This has given me hope that he will come back and not believe anything his dad says about me. I'm sorry. Keep copies of the letters. Keep a diary. Keep records so you can show your son. That's part of what helped convince me about my dad. Seeing how much commitment he put in over the years. How did you find the evidence, and did you suspect anything was amiss beforehand? When my mom was alive, it never occurred to me to question my mom's version of things. She had a pretty strong mental hold on me. Later, I guess I wondered whether the abuse really happened because I didn't have any concrete memory of it. But for me, it was about risk analysis. Maybe this guy, a stranger, was okay, but why would I risk my safety and my family's safety over a maybe? After my mom died, and my grandmother soon after, I started having serious health problems and my doctor said I really needed to get my health history from my dad's side. I sent him a letter saying I do not want a relationship. This is not an invitation, and I'm sorry to have to ask this, but can you fill out this health history form? He did, but he also sent back a 7-page typed letter. It was a record of his meeting my mom, their courtship, early relationship, how she left him, etc. At the time I got it, I was too emotional/freaked to read it. Hands shaking, stomach upset. I just put it in a file. 4 years later I was cleaning out files, and I found the letter, and it was easier to read. Apparently shortly after they got married, my mom accused my dad of being gay, and didn't allow him to see his childhood best friend anymore. When I was in high school my mom accused me of being a lesbian, and wouldn't let my best friend spend the night. She accused him of cheating with men and women, and of being on drugs. I grew up hearing my mom accused basically everyone of being gay, and she made me break off a few friendships because my friends might be on drugs. When he cried because of her accusations, she said if you didn't do anything, why are you crying? Said the same shit to me, and constantly accused me of things I didn't do. The letter went on, and the similarities went on. I realized maybe she was the problem. I wasn't convinced, but I started asking questions. Mostly my mom's sisters, older and younger, comparing their versions of events with hers, and putting everything together. It was hard, because my mom and grandmother were dead, and I wasn't talking to my dad about anything yet. But it quickly became clear that my mom's version of events, in terms of her removing me from the abusive situation, and informing the family what was going on, did not line up with reality. Like, 6 months after my mom moved me out of state, my aunt asked my mom if my dad was going to be seeing me, and my mom said, "No, mom and I took care of it." Meaning my mom and my grandmother handled it. My aunt didn't find out there was abuse involved until much later, when I told her, and we are not a secretive family. What is your relationship with your father like now? What things do you have in common, despite being apart for decades? We look practically identical. We both leave cabinet doors open when we are working in the kitchen or getting ready in the bathroom, making our respective spouses crazy. We are both prone to depression and overanalysis. We are both artistic, although he's a realist and I love abstract. We are introverts who like people. We have trouble sleeping and have anxiety about it. I get my good teeth, hair, and corneal defect from him. We both love action movies and 13-year-old humor. There's a lot. His wife always points it out. I'll update when I think of more. I could imagine this whole experience has been emotionally turbulent, but really appreciate your vulnerability in doing this, Amma. Thank you for sharing. You're definitely not the only soul on Reddit to later find their childhood was a lie. My story is very different, but I can in some ways relate. Do you spend a lot of time with your dad now? Is it weird to see parts of yourself in another person for the first time in your 30s? Do you regret not reaching out to him earlier? Yes, it was very turbulent. It took a few years to process and get through. I see my dad as often as we can. We live in different states, so it's hard. After we first met, we saw each other all the time, trying to build our relationship. Now that it's been a few years we are more comfortable, so we text a lot and see each other a few times a year. Yes, it was / very weird seeing parts of myself in him. When I first sat down with him, I just couldn't stop staring at him because he looked so much like me. We have a lot of the same mannerisms and quirks. In a way, I regret not reaching out to him sooner, but I also think that I wasn't ready earlier. My mom had a serious hold on my psyche and I think I needed to break out of it on my own and go down this road by myself. But yeah, there are times I wish I'd run away from home when I was 10 and gone to live with him. How was your relationship with your mother while she was still alive? And how has your revelations about her affected what you think of her? When I was a kid, I was terrified of her, but I loved her. She made sure of both. I idolized her because she saved me from my dad, but she also made sure I never crossed her. You can read some of my responses to previous posts for more info. We maintained a good relationship throughout my adolescence because I never ever challenged her and did everything I was told. During college and grad school, I started to see through her a little bit. To see how cruel and manipulative she could be, but also how needy. I felt sorry for her and hated her, but also loved her. I did some therapy, but didn't even begin to scratch the surface of some of the more disturbing things. Just more of a how can I be more independent from my mom kind of thing. I never knew I needed real therapy until nearly 20 years later. In my mid-20s, coincidence brought my husband and I back into the same city where she lived. She had a cancer scare, and I feel like it made her see me through new eyes, like she could see me for who I was, and not for who she wanted me to be. We became closer friends. She was there when my son was born. Her cancer came back, and 4 months later she was dead. Her last wish was that I never ever contact my biological father. Of course all of this changes how I see her. For the first couple of years after my discovery, it was really hard. There was a lot of anger and grief. In the process of therapy I've learned she likely had borderline personality disorder, and now that I understand some of its symptoms, I understand why she did some of the things she did. I can see her as mentally ill rather than evil. I can remember some of the good things she did, and the good times we had together. Looking back, she's still my mom, but she's not terrifying anymore. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. I hope this cat will help you decide on your decision to hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and always feel lucky.